Don't be passive with your future. So, in this video, I'm just going to share with you what I believe is very clear and where it's at, and how I think as a believer we need to understand this. But then, two, how we get this wrong and how we live this out wrong. And as every Friday, one of the goals is to continue to allow the experiences, insights that I have in our Cash Flow Friday community, and to continue to teach them how to be able to buy assets. And most assets is real estate. We introduce a stock market and even building your own business. Those are generally the three main assets that most people have 100% in control. And so in doing that, the goal for me is to put you guys in the awareness and how to stay there. And that's why we do this every week, because here's the truth is that it's very hard for people to get where they want to be when they have to be aware of, I think, what the mindset they have to embody, like the the mindset that you have to embody to not only build assets but to continue to do it. And just think about it. It has to be a form of principle or way you think. And there was a we at our church had started talking about the things that we worship. And money is obviously a thing that we worship. And I found it very interesting on how much it struck me. And it was talking about the dishonest manager. So I'm going to pull that up real quick. And highlight it. So it was a parable of the dishonest manager. And it talks about, like, hey, there was a rich man who had a manager, and the manager brought charges to him, and the man was wanting his possession. He called him and said to him, "What is it that I hear about you? Turn in your account of your management, for you no longer be a manager." And the manager said to him, "What shall I do, since my master is taking the management away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig. I'm not ashamed to beg." And I'm not going to go in a lot of all this stuff. It's a great sermon out there. If you want me to share it with you, I can. But I'm going to keep going because that pointed out something. "I have decided what to do so that when I am removed from the manager, people may receive me in their house." So he summoned his master debtor one by one. He said to them, "How much do you owe my master?" He said, 100 measures of oil. He said, "Take my bill, sit down, write down 50. Then he said to another, "How much do you owe?" He said, 100 measures of wheat. He said to him, "Take your bill and write 80. The master commended the dishonest manager for his shrewdness. Shrewdness. We need to make sure we look at that shrewdness. Okay. For the son of this world was more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than the son of light." That's us as believers. "And I tell you, make friends for yourself by meaning of earth's righteous wealth, so when it failed, they may receive into you the eternal dwellings." So I want to talk about shrewdness and what that actually means. And I'm a big definition guy, so I just say, all right, well, let's just look up definitions. Okay, shrewdness, what does that mean? Simple definition of shrewdness is the quality of being keen insight, sharp intelligence, sound practical judgments, often allowing one to navigate complex situations to their advantage, before they're resourceful, something. And what you see is Jesus, who's the one speaking here, talks about that the son of the world more swerved in dealing with their own generation than the son of light. And I tell you, make friends for yourself with a meaning of unrighteous wealth. So when they fail, because it will, they may receive you into the eternal dwelling. So All right. What are you telling me, Jabari? What's the point you're trying to make? All right. Well, here's the point. So when we realize that Jesus is telling us, like, as the Son of Man, like, we need to be dealing, not dishonestly, but we need to understand the not only the way of thinking, but how do we put ourselves in a better position with the insight, the sharp intelligence that we should use, because later on in that verse it tells us that one who is faithful in very little will also be faithful. One who is faithful in very little is also faithful in much, and the one who is dishonest is very little is also dishonest as much. So what that tells me is this: is that if you're dishonest with what you have, even come to money, and like not planning well, then even if you got more, it won't change anything. And who you are right now has to be worked on. And I think as a believer, Jesus is making it very clear, like, learn from the people like of this world. Learn from them and see that this is how you should operate. So what does that mean? That means if I think about real estate and if you're wanting to sell, if you're wanting to invest, like, this is all the same because it's a mindset. So if you think about, I have this house and you're going to be living in this house, my whiteboard. So let's say you're going to be living in this house for, let me get you a little bit closer. Let's say you're going to be living in this house for how many years? Let's say you chose to buy this investment for 5 years. Now, you have $50K. Now, how we learn to do this strategy, we can stay here, go to 10 years, we can stay here, go to 15 years, and that will eventually grow. 60, 70, I think you get the point if you own this. Now, the issue for most people is that we have rented for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Or if we've owned something for this long, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, we look at this equity and we like, man, that's a lot of money. Like, what can I do with that? How can I use that wisely to put me in a better position in the future? And sometimes put my family in a better position in the future. So I want you to think about one. Number one is that if you have been renting, you're giving all this opportunity away. Now, I've talked about that several times, all right? I'm not gonna go on that this time. Two, if you're investing, this is great. You can use this to be able to buy more and multiply this over time into more than one, or, because investing and owning is almost the same. My door isn't not there. So, but because let's take this. Uh-oh. Is my camera going crazy? Just realized that. My bad. Camera been acting up on me. There we go. All right. So, if you realize, okay, if I've been renting, I've been investing, then third, what if I, have been stewarding what has been given to me? And another way we say is own, because really, truly, if we look at that scripture, it's like it teaches us how to realize that we're stewards of what we have. So if you have stewarded a home for this long, like how do you maintain a proper perspective about what you have? Man, we having some technical issues. I'm gonna figure it out. So 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And the reality is, when we get into a position and say, hey, if I can stay here long enough, most of the time we just upgrading our lives. And so once we have this amount of money, we sometimes decide, hey, I want to give me a bigger house. And I think like this is fair. Like if you have own one or two properties or three properties, I think when you come to an investment, at one point you're like, man, hey, I want to move on up like Jefferson. We're moving on up. And that's fine. And I want you to think about the example that I used last week, because when we think about the chart that I'm gonna use, when we truly think about this chart, oh, where'd it go? Here we go. And we say, where am I at? And we say, all right, most people, when they get a bigger amount, a lot more amount of money, they end up getting a mortgage, right? So if you're renting right now, most of the time, this is how you use your income. And it goes from income to expenses. But then also, if you have a job and you start getting a higher salary, what happened? Your expenses and your liability. And so what happens over time is like we never change the mindset. Like it's such a mindset shift, and to maintain the mindset of like, hey, I have, I am an asset. I'm building assets, and how do I grow and build these assets? Like it is a constant war against yourself. And the only reason I want you guys to know this is because if you've seen me and understand everything I stand for, the only reason that you realize that because I've experienced this and I've had the battle where, hey, I went down and just took on like just a kind of pessimistic view. Like even if I had something, and it's like, it's a dangerous place to be in, because when you have experienced something before, and specifically when you know God have given you the gifts and skill to be able to acquire that, and you like take on the manager position and are not truly honest with who you are and how you're supposed to continue to steward what you have. I think one or two things happen. Obviously, you've made the possession the God and not God himself. But then what the next thing that happens to that is you start to be so consumed by it instead of like how you're supposed to use it to serve your family and God's people. Because the thing is, you have to be a good steward of yourself, and your future depends on that. We're here on a Friday. Every Friday we come here and we do this because my job is simple. It's very simple. It is get yourself, oh man. It is to get yourself in a position where you are doing better for your family. And the only way you can do that is, I think, by getting in a place of owning, though you can learn how to steward. And if you're not there yet and you're renting, like I encourage you to think about what I'm saying here. And the point that I want to make is this, is that renting, you won't ever build any true wealth. 10K minimum. When you start investing, you can have minimum 300K. This is based on a study. And I think you can go 300K or even up. And here's the truth. Choose to submerge yourself around people who will help you and maintain this perspective, okay? So listen, I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. And share this with one person. As I always say, share this so that you can be a good steward. All right, I'm out.